welcome everybody. Thanks for coming to, I think it's the first official masterclass of the season of the year at the Music Settlement. And we are super excited. We as in the string department are really excited to welcome Jeff Singler, Mr. Jeff Singler, who is here today with us. And he was recently hired through the string department. So we are super excited to be able to take advantage of his talents, his teaching talents, and performance expertise. So let's all give Mr. Singler a big welcome. And of course, my name is Eva. I am the string department head, and I'll be your host for today, as well as doing all the recording stuff. So just so you know, this is being recorded, and we will be putting this on our YouTube site, so you'll be able to watch this and view this pretty soon in the future. So please feel free to check it out.
You should have saved that for the end.
Okay, I will remind you at the end too. Thanks, Rachel. And our first performer up today is Vivian, so I'm going to let Vivian introduce herself, and we'll get the party started.
My name is Vivian C, and I've been learning cello for 3 years now.
Thanks very much.
I'm very much looking forward to hearing from Vivian, so whenever you're ready, take your time. That sounded really good. It's very well prepared. I love your vibrato. You know, there's a lot of good stuff going on here. I just have a couple of things that I'm going to try to help you with a little bit to see if we can make it even more special in a couple of ways, but it's very, very good. You should feel very proud of this. So thank you for sharing with me. So the couple of things that I thought we might try to improve. First of all, I'm hearing dynamics, which is great. This piece needs that, right? It's a piece where that contrast in those dynamics is going to provide a lot of interest to the listener. I'm hearing them, but I wonder if we could get a little more contrast in a few places. And so we're gonna work on that a little bit. And then the other thing that I was thinking about, I don't know if your markings may be different from mine in a couple of places, but there are a few places where you have repeated quarter notes, right? Like measure 15 and measure 17. Do you see where that is? It's possible, like I said, that you have markings that are different from mine, but right now, places like that, those quarter notes are not always exactly the same. I know that's a super picky detail, but you're playing it so well that that's what we're down to. We're trying to improve it, is little picky details like that. I think it helps the listener recognize the fact that this statement and that statement are the same melody if we can make those articulations match better. So it's a small thing, but I'd like to try that. So maybe we could work on the dynamics a little bit first. Okay. So maybe we could start. Like I said, I'm hearing dynamics. So maybe a good place to work on for a good example of this would be like over on the second page, like measure 80 and 81. Right? We got that piano in there, which sounded great. And then we have that sudden forte 81, which I heard, but I think we could make bigger. So I'm just going to talk real quick about maybe something technical that we want to think about when we're doing dynamics. All of the energy in our sound comes from the movement of the bow. You know, all the energy that string is going to vibrate with is the string stealing that energy from the movement of the bow. And I think we all tend to focus a little bit more on how much we're digging in, and to get louder, we're going to dig in more, and to get softer, we're going to be lighter with the bow. And I think that we can probably get more dynamics in general the more we think about these changes for dynamics, right? Like getting that piano to be nice and small, I think is fine. But then for that forte, we've got to really zip the bow suddenly to get a big change. You will have to dig in deeper, that's true. But I'm going to ask you right now just to try to think about making a really big change in how much bow we're going to use. Can I just hear, actually, just first, because I think the forte is the thing we're going to make a bigger alteration to. Can I hear you start right at 81? Look at how much bow I'm using. Can you play those three notes with maybe that much bow? Yeah, that's a lot better. Let's do it again. Let's reinforce it. Right. So it's a little strange to kind of suddenly jump into that much bow from not as much bow. But let's try it. So we'll start at 80. And then suddenly lots of bow. Yeah, that's a nice sudden contrast. That's great. And then we would kind of keep that into that dynamic, into that piano. Let's just see. I think in preparation for that forte, you might have been a little bit over gentle with the bow, and the sound, instead of being, was a little bit more like this. Do you hear the difference? This one sounds what? How would you describe this? This isn't as good. What would you like that sound to be more? Putting you on the spot, I'm sorry. So this is the first one, and this is the second one. The first one sounds...
more, it's like less
that's great. You're hearing exactly right. I'm going to say that this one's clearer, and this one's more fuzzy, right? And so the way I'm getting that sound to be too fuzzy is that I'm not digging into the string at all. I'm just kind of letting that bow skate on the string. So I'm going to actually probably need to use a slightly smaller bow and make sure that I'm digging into the string just a little bit. Can you put that bow on the string? We're going to do this like with a forte feeling. Here, I'm going to just come closer here so you can see a little bit what I'm doing here. But I want you to dig and make that bow bend a little bit. Yeah, now I want you to wiggle that string without making any bow strokes, kind of like teeny down bows and up bows. And feel how you've got lots of digging into that string. And this is exactly what we need if we're going to start a big sound. Shoot the bow really fast. We still want to dig in though when we're going to play soft. So let's put the bow on the string, maybe in the middle of the bow. And let's feel how gently we can still feel that wiggle if we're going to do that. Now, when we've got that really gentle, now we can start the bow. Yes! And it's like a laser pointer. That sound is super clear, going all the way to the back of the room, and it's still really quiet. So, let's just try that one more time to get that piano to really sparkle like that. Into that forte. Yeah, one more time. That was very good. Let's see if we can make it even more. So, nice and gentle. Go ahead and feel that wiggle. Remember how that wiggle kind of helped us feel the right energy to how we wanted to start that? Go ahead and do that wiggle first. Yeah, go ahead. You got the wiggle, you got the feel for how you want that bow to interact with the string. Now, a nice small bow. And then, pow! Big bow. Oh yeah, that's going to be an exciting moment. Do you guys want to try it? You're still, you're ready. Do you guys want to try playing that one? We can start at 76. Do you have measure numbers? Do you know where 76 is? Yeah, why don't we start there and give that a try and see how that works. We'll stop at like 83 or 84. Okay? You want to try that part one more time? We can start right at 80. Yeah. Excellent. Yeah, really nice. That's really nice dynamic contrast. You can kind of apply that same thing to anywhere else in the piece where you want to make that kind of contrast. Is really think about how you're going to use a small bow and a gentle feeling of digging into the string versus a big bow and heavy digging into the string, just like we did there. Now let's go over to that staccato, or rather the length of those quarter notes that we were talking about. We can do it. I think the two places I noticed it the most were at the beginning and at the end. But I think another spot where the same thing is true is at 44, 45, right after the repeat sign. So I don't know that it matters a whole lot which one we choose. Why don't we do the first one? So we could even start at 11, and it's probably not, I don't need to show you anything. I just want to make you aware of those. Let's see, whatever length you like is probably okay, but we want to make them the same. So at 15, sorry. So if they're a little bit separate like that, then 17. Then at 21. Try to make them all match each other. Right? So we can start right at 11. tell me, did you notice which one that was? Or did you, if you didn't notice, that's okay, but did you notice?
The second one?
Yeah, the one at measure 17, the second one was what?
More separated.
Yeah, it was more separated, yeah. So, I don't think that it was like separated in a way that was not good. I also think that the legato that you're playing 15 is also, it would be okay too. I think we just have to make the same choice for all of them, you know? Which do you think that you like the sound of better?
The legato.
The legato one? So why don't we try going into 17 and really think about legato? You can just use this by yourself. Try it. Start with that pickup and. Yeah, nice. Do it one more time for muscle memory. Yeah, now let's try it again. And all of those are going to match each other. Yeah. From 11. You're making a choice about how you want to make things sound, and you can do it. So very nice. I should just check and see if we have time. If we do, then I would like to do the dynamic contrast right there, if that would be okay. The one that we have the forte at 18 and the forte at the end of 18 and the piano at the end of 19. Right? So let's just start right on the forte right now, so we can really get a feel for how we're going to use all of our bow on that slur. You see how I used about that much bow on the piano, and I used all of it on the forte. Let's try those two measures. Oh, is it an up bow? And I did it backwards. You're right. Up bow's better anyway. So full bow. So my fault. Yeah, nice. And then you're out here, so you're ready for to build that crescendo. You can even think. I know it's a little overly mathematical, but we can actually think about how much bow we want to use for that C, maybe this much, and then how much bow we want to use for the D, maybe back to here, and then how much bow we want to use for the E, right? And, you know, it's over planning, but it helps you make sure you're using enough bow. So yeah, let's try maybe all the way to 22, starting with the up to 18, our forte. Yeah, one more time, good. So go ahead. Nice, yeah. Do you want to try it one more time maybe with the piano? We could start from, probably pick up to 15. It's going to make more sense than starting in the middle of it. Does that seem like it makes sense to you? So when you get to 18, after this C, make sure you lean into that bow and use lots of bow on it for the 14. Yeah, 15. Pick up. To me, that's more interesting to listen to than, you know, whenever we can expand those contrasts in any music that we play. It's hard to think of. I can't think, maybe there's an exception, I can't think of it right now, where when we have contrasts, you know, making them bigger is almost always going to be more interesting to listen to and more fun to make happen too when you're playing. So thank you so much for coming and playing, and I wish you the best of luck with everything that you go for from here on.
I just want to make a quick announcement while Jordan is getting herself set up. Our last master class participant today, Julia, unfortunately is feeling a little under the weather today, so she won't be performing for Mr. Singler. So we'll be just one student short today. So that means we're going to be able to have a little bit more relaxed master class flow today. So we can take our time and enjoy learning all together. And that means we'll probably go straight through, or might have a break. We'll kind of feel it out. But just so everyone knows, we're going to have a slight change to the program. So, Jordan, do you want to take a few notes before you get started?
Do you like to be called Jordan? Like, how do I pronounce it?
Jordan's fine.
Jordan is fine. Okay, thank you.
But yeah, my name is Jordan Pierce. I'm 14 years old. I'm a ninth year in high school, and this is my 10th year.
Great. Awesome.
And what are you going to play?
So now that he major by Summer 2.
Do you happen to know the name Martine? Gosh, it just slipped my mind. Berteau, Martine Berteau. Do you know that name? It's actually believed now that this piece is misappropriated to Saint Martine. It was actually written by a guy named Martine Berteau, and he's a famous French cellist, actually taught Duport, and if you've ever done any of the Duport etudes, and he taught Raval, actually. He's a kind of an interesting guy. He was instrumental in the development of thumb position. So you can thank him for both writing it into this music and for inventing it, so you have to deal with it, right? He, being an 18th century French cellist, he was hearing lots of comic opera at the time, and I have always felt like this piece has a huge French comic opera influence, and that there's so much character in this music that, where you've got ridiculous characters, silly characters, overly serious characters, and arguing characters. And I just feel like the music is inspired by that kind of, those kinds of contrasts, where like one statement of a theme is one character, and then suddenly you have another character interjecting. Like a perfect example of that is what happens in measure 36, and you don't have to use it. You memorized it, which is great. Exactly this section. Right, and you just that was awesome. It was so fun to hear. I just loved it. So I appreciate very much all of the way that you handle all of that. So I don't want to pick on you musically at all here. I'm going to have a couple of little technical things that I want to help you with to help your intonation in a couple of things. Again, it sounds fantastic, and so there are a few notes here and there that we can tweak to make a little better in tune, and that's what I'm going to help you with, if that's all right with you.
Yeah.
Do you happen to have music around that you could use for us to work together? Because it might make it easier for us to talk about stuff specifically. If you do, that'd be great. Thank you. Yeah. So one of the spots I had a little idea for you was actually the thumb position, right? Right at the beginning, it might be a great spot to work on, or to do this with, and that is starting before the repeat. So I have measure numbers. You have measure numbers?
Yeah.
Okay, so 16.
Okay.
So this section right here. Nice contrast, by the way. Nice dynamics. I'm looking at your thumb position, and I'm thinking a tiny tweak might help you get that second finger better in tune, right? Because your first finger's in tune, your thumb's in the right spot, your third finger's in tune, but this finger's kind of here. Oh, sorry. I'm going to try to do this. And it sounds, I'm making it worse than you did. But it's a little bit this way, not close enough to third finger to be a nice in tune F sharp where we've got it, right? And, it's just kind of natural. Our hand likes to be distant, right? And to have to create this hand shape where that second finger is higher and closer to third, it takes some attention to it to begin with, but then also we have to set our hand up in a way that allows us to reach it comfortably. And so my suggestion for you is a tiny adjustment to your thumb position, the angle of the arm, right? It looks to me like this angle would help you get this third finger, which is your longest finger, your second finger rather. It's your longest finger anyway. Get it much more easily close to your third finger. The more we turn over this way, and I'm making it, this is not what you're doing, but you can see the more that we turn over this way, the more this finger wants to these two fingers want to separate from each other. So I wonder if you could get set up exactly like you would normally expect to, and then move exactly 1.24 millimeters of rotation this way. To see if that makes it easier for you to get that second finger right up against your third finger for better F sharp intonation. You want to try that? Yeah. So maybe a first thing to do. Yes. Well, maybe a first thing to do would be just a D major scale, and try to stay a little bit balanced on your first finger thumb side of your hand. They're already getting the string down, so these fingers don't have work to do, right? Just stopping the string from where it was already down. So just try a teenager scale with that. You might be able to play a teeny bit more on the fingertip than you are, because it's a tiny change, but here, my finger wants to collapse if it's going to collapse this way into the fingertip. Here, my finger wants to collapse if it's going to collapse into this way, wants to flatten, right? And so this makes it very hard to control. This makes it real easy to change where that finger is going to be. Does that make sense? Like here, I'm kind of stuck. Here, I can do it. Right, and so, I often have to yell at students, very loudly usually, no, I just complain, but who have nails that are too long. You do not, your nails are perfect, so this should work for you, right? So try to get a little more, you might even feel the nail touching the string, and that's okay. Can you try? So now we just need to get these fingers to be closer friends. Like we all know those annoying people who sit too close to each other sometimes, right? So, but these have to be a little bit like that. They have to kind of be inseparable, right? Get a little more separation there, and I just made it sharp. And these two, they're really going to be right up against each other. All right, go ahead, try one more time. Because of this angle where we are, the finger that really has to live by that right on the fingertip rule is only the first finger. The others, my second finger, you see, has to be, because I'm using the curvature of my first finger to get this distance and the lengthening of my second and third fingers to get this distance, I can't play with the second and third fingers on the fingertip in the same way. It's going to be a little more on the pad of the finger, right? Does that make sense? So that may also help. Letting yourself use a slightly different contact point with your finger might also help you feel more comfortable separating those fingers more per information. Let's just do it one more time. Sorry to make you play 200 D major scales. There it is. That's it. Yeah, that one was definitely your best tune. Would you mind doing one more to reinforce that? Because muscles learn from repetition, and I don't want to throw you into playing these notes with that without a little more repetition. So one more. So let's just try, and I apologies to your pianist, but no piano yet, just because you'll hear the intonation better. But let's just start right from that, not the open A, but the second note of that measure. Try to really think about getting that second finger really close to the third finger on all of those. Very good, and some of them were getting there. Can we do it one more time? So these fingers can really be buddies. They barely have to separate, even when you're not using them. Like even when you're using just second finger, this third finger can just stay right up against it. Right? So less movement means more control, usually. So go ahead. sharp, you tend to do this. And then I'm making it worse than you, but then that's how it ends up flat a little bit. If it stayed right next to the third finger even from there, then that note would be just as in tune as all the others. You try it one more time? Better, and I don't mean to beat you up about this. We're just trying to hone in on a very specific thing. So do you want to try it in context with the piano now one time? Just to see how it feels, to see if, now your goal would be to make it more comfortable, because it sounds pretty good. So, you know, we're not trying to make it better at this point now, we're just trying to feel better about it, right? So let's try from, is it inconvenient to start right on the measure 16? For the piano? No, that's okay. So if you don't want to play the open A at the beginning of the measure, you can jump in on that 16 note. But if you are more comfortable playing the downbeat, you can go ahead. It's okay, totally up to you.
I can start on the 16th note.
Okay. So the next thing, there's another spot, let's see, I'm going to forget one. Okay, so I mean, I think we can, those double stops are mean, aren't they? We might be able to do a little bit with that too. The other spot though that I'm, maybe if there's time we'll go back to those. The other spot that I'm thinking of is in all those string crossings where you're fingering it like triple stops, honestly, but the bow goes across. That one I hate. This one, getting that one in tune is extra hard because getting an extension to begin with is tricky across two strings. But your fourth finger is your shortest finger, and it's got to go to the farther string. And your first finger is longer than that, and it has to go on the nearest string, and you've got to be extended, and you have to have them both at the same time. And so it's an especially awkward one to do. What I have found is with extensions like this, I recommend that students actually change their approach angle. Because I can get this in tune with my elbow around here. I cannot with my elbow where I would normally be for. If it was not an extension, if it was an E flat for some reason, I would put my elbow here. This is where I would want to be, but I can't really get the extension. If I'm going to reach further with this finger or with this finger, I'm pulling the finger off the string, right? There are the lengths they are. I can't change it, right? So if I want to get this finger here and get this finger here, I want to give myself some advantage by where I'm bringing my elbow to, right? And so all the rest of these before that where you don't have the extension, you're going to do exactly like you were. I hate that one. And then this one, we're going to bring that elbow around more to get ourselves an advantage for this. Yes, and then also, I forgot to say one thing about doing so. Your shortest finger has to play the farthest string and be out of the way. So this string can vibrate past it to this finger, right? Like, so we have to curve it on top of it. We can't just play it flat, right? So, so that's what we want to do. Right now, you're getting this, but it sounds, this note either sounds more like a G sharp or something, so we're not quite getting that reach. Does that make sense? So let's try it by itself first. So let's start from the fourth finger. So get that E, be nice and in tune. Now bring this elbow around to where, with this opening up, you're going to use bringing the arm around to get the tip of the finger to the D string. Try it. Yeah, that looks good. Yeah, so you did it so well, you got more distance than you needed, right? But yeah. So I'm out of tune. Let's hear that double stop. Right. Exactly. So if you're at a great angle, it's not hard. The extension isn't a strain. So the challenge in doing this in context is the preparation of the arm, going from this one to this one. So that's the trick. Let's just let's try this first. Right. I think all these are going to start out though, by the way, right? It's so much easier that way. Go ahead, just one more that way. or like if we're practicing putting, or if we're practicing taking a basketball shot, or cornhole, or whatever favorite backyard game might be. Once you let go of the ball, it's either going to go in or it isn't. So the only thing you can do is prepare it, right? You can't, you don't want to adjust afterwards. You can't adjust afterwards. It's either going to go in or not. And so you may end up with it being horribly out of tune. But you want to just go for it and see what happens, because you can take another ball and take another shot and learn from what happened, what to change for the next attempt. So the connection is, like I said, the hard part. So we need to make that connection actually happen in a real way, so we can figure out what we need to do if we need to make any changes to how we make that connection. Does that make sense? So we're going to go, we can even just do the double stop and not have to worry about the bowing thing. I should have done that from the beginning. Nice. Yeah, let's do it one more time. Try it again. Right, so now let's do it as written. Sorry. Nice. So let's add a couple before, so that we have to get into it a little bit further. So start at the beginning of, I know the second one, I hate the second one. Try to focus on the preparation to allow yourself to make that reach. That's so nicely in tune. Let's do it again. Fantastic. Yeah, one more time for muscle memory. Yeah, nice. So would you, 5 minutes? Yeah, I think we can, honestly, we can stop after this, but maybe just take a quick glance through and think about where all those extensions are, and we can try that whole section with the piano, starting right from that measure, halfway through 96. So each one is going to be exactly the same as that. There aren't any, fortunately, no different challenges. They're all the same challenge. So, yeah, go ahead. Fantastic. That was a lot better. The intonation on all those extensions was good, despite that horrendous challenge we had to deal with getting it, right? So, so it's very good. And so just one other thing I want to do is I want to see if we can make that last note a little bit grander by not running out of bow at the end. Like what happens with all of us is we want to go, and then we're halfway through the bow. By the time we get to the top notes, we just have to squeeze some sustain out of the tip of the bow. Right? So what we want to do whenever we get to is the G major suite, you know that spot in the G major suite at the end. We want to have that bow available for it, and you know how many people always go. But we don't have to do it. We can if we plan how we're going to use our bow and plan saving bow at the very beginning and crossing the low notes, then you can save lots of bow for the second half. So let's just try that chord. First of all, how little bow can you successfully get a good sound with before you have to switch? Sorry, my cello's out of tune. I'll fix it after. But before you have to switch across. Right now, look how much bow know you have. You're not even using it now. Go ahead and use it. So that end of the piece can go like this, right out into the hall. Yeah, now that whole note feels more final in a much better way. So we're gonna, again, it's about the planning. Whether you're gonna succeed with this when you get to it in real life is gonna depend on whether or not you are prepared to use that very small amount of bow for the G and D when you get to it. So why don't we just start the last up bow, sorry. Right, you have to do the silly choreography.
Wait, where did you say?
I started halfway through measure 107
Okay.
on the D major chord. Yeah, one more time. Start with an up bow, and then it'll work, right? Nice, yeah. Jordan, thank you so much for playing for me today. You sound fantastic. It was great working with you. So I'm okay.
Wait, or you want to keep going?
I'm okay to keep going.
Okay. So are you okay to keep going, or would you like to take a 5-minute break?
We're good.
Good? All right, then let's keep going. We have our last performer, Magdalena, so we're using this unit.
Thank you for the pianist. That's a really big piano part, especially in the middle there, towards the end. So, yeah, so bravo. Yeah, I just have a couple of things that I'd like to see if I can help you with too, to kind of just refine one or two things to help your overall, the effect of the overall performance will go. One thing that I'm noticing, first of all, I'm going to ask, was that the tempo that you wanted or that you were hoping for?
I think, yeah, like
Yeah.
in some places, but in others, because I have trouble like keeping with the piano and like not trying to fill it with the piano versus
Right.
like keeping, going on my own. But during some parts, it would have changed the tempo.
Okay. Like at the very beginning, did you want the tempo to be right there, or did you want it to be a little different?
That feels like a trick question.
You're right. It is leading somewhere. You're absolutely right.
I feel like that's the correct answer to that
You
question.
can't get it by you. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It's leading.
Let me see if I can remember it. But I think I was okay with it.
You're okay with it. I'm going to suggest that you take a slightly more moving tempo, a more rolling along tempo. Yeah. And here's the reason that I'm going to say that. You are running out of bow before you get to the ends, and so we're not getting sustain right now that I think if you were getting would really, because you're playing this with so much good sensibility for what this music is about and what it means and what we're trying to say with it. But I think when you run out of bow, you lose some of that in the transitions from note to note, right?
Yeah.
So a slightly faster tempo will help, first of all, because then it just means it's easier not to run out of bow, because each bow is shorter by time because it's faster. That might help. I also think that it's not going to harm at all the feeling that you're after with the music to pick a slightly faster tempo. In fact, the tempo that you did in the kind of the reverie section, right, where it's like a happy memory, that tempo was a little bit faster, and it was great, and it's perfect for that. And it's a little bit, I think it would actually be more meaningful if those two tempos were the same. If the tempo that you're doing in the middle, which worked great, if you then also apply it back to the beginning, because that gives them a connection to each other that they don't have if we're actually slower at the beginning. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, I mean, for that reason also. But also, so just so we're not running out of bow, I might suggest that. Another thing that we might want to try to do to help save the bow is I'm going to ask you to just play the beginning again, and we're going to really pay attention to planning out our bow use a little bit more. Are you comfortable playing a little closer to the bridge? If I ask you to do that, is that something you feel you could do right away? Or
Yes.
It's okay. So that's the first thing, because the first thing is that because the string vibrates like the world's thinnest football. Right? That's the shape we get. It's very thin right here, and it's thickest vibrating right here. So we're going to necessarily use a lot less bow for the same volume. The closer to the bridge we get. Because that string's vibrating the same width in all cases, but we're drawing it across a place where it's much the vibration is much less wide, and you still get the same advantage for the whole string. So if you can get a little closer to the bridge, you give yourself more room to work with too. And then let's plan that if I think in 16th notes, that's overthinking it. We'll try just one time and then we'll stop doing this because it's not very musical to think this mathematically. But let's plan that when I get to that 8th note, I am not past here. I still have this much bow left. Because usually, for our comfort, we have to feel like we have a little bit more bow on the upper half of the bow so that we can sustain all the way across, right? So we're going to plan 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. See if we can get that sustain. Let's try to just a little bit right at the beginning. Go ahead. Actually, let's have you do it by yourself right now so that you have total control over the tempo. You don't have to worry about matching that. Yeah, nice. That was already better. You have, I think it could be muscle memory too. You tend to use a faster bow at the beginning and then not have enough at the end, and some of that might just be happening said, by habit. So let's just do it again. Same thing. Yeah, same thing. And you can actually, because you're playing this from memory, I know I can ask you to keep your eyes right on this the whole time. Yeah. And try to really sustain that down all the way to the upper without any loss of energy, dynamic energy, tone energy. Just right on the eighth. Yeah, no, just a little more dynamic. You gave me a little more dynamic, a little more power a minute ago. Yes, that's it. But with both the down low and up, I want to see both.
Oh.
Yeah, no problem. I'm just going to suggest that if we can keep that sustained through the whole thing, this opening statement wails this emotion that we're trying to get. It can be depressing to play this piece over and over again. I always have to imagine that it's like a cartoon character, and the tears are like flying out of the eyes. You know what I mean? Because it makes it less serious for me, so that I can do this and not get depressed, right? So, let's. Just try the beginning. Do you want to play this with piano? Try it with piano, or do you want to do it on your own?
I can do it.
Let's have you do it on your own. Yeah, you have more control over the time. It was a lot better already. Yeah, and the secret is going to be, what do I do in the bottom half? If I run out of bow at the tip, it's because I used too much bow at the frog, where you have more strength, right? Yeah, and that wolf, don't worry about the wolf.
Yeah.
There are two solutions to wolf. One is don't play with a good sound, right? We don't want to do that one.
That's the one I've chosen for now.
No. You got a good sound and you got a wolf, right? So when that happens, I usually just like go, yeah, it was a wolf. Because the other solution is messing around with the wolf eliminator, right?
That doesn't work out for me.
Well, you might be able to try to move it a little bit closer to the bridge, or a little bit, you might be able to make a slight adjustment. That's something to do at home on another day. And if you get into a performance and you get wolf, you just have to trust your listeners to recognize that it's not your fault, it's the wolf. Because like I said, the best way to get rid of it is to suddenly not get good sound anymore. So there are a couple of other tricks you can use, like one that I use sometimes, especially like in an orchestra. The cello I used to play on had a terrible wolf, and whenever we would start like here, it was on this note. You're trying to get a quiet sound, but it's just like gurgle, 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 and you feel like just everyone's hearing the whole thing. I would sometimes do this where you turn the cello a little bit so you can reach it, and you kind of squeeze your knee right into the side of the face of the cello, and sometimes that makes the wolf go away.
I have short legs.
Yeah, you have to turn the cello more than, but that's the only thing that I have found to do short of getting bad sound. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. When you get wolf, you'll be like, maybe I should mess around with my wolf eliminator later. Does that make sense? So the whole point is don't worry about that wolf. I did not like the wolf at all. It's not your fault. It's a symptom of getting good sound on your wolf dome, right? So, okay, the other spot, you don't have to, and you also don't have to, I think, leave anything on the table with that first statement, because the second statement, we want that one to be more, right? But it's written to be more. The piano part's doing those triplet 30-second notes, right? And we're way up high on the cello and it's wailing anyway. So I don't think we need to think at the beginning about leaving anything on the table for that moment. Let's talk a little bit too. If we have time, right? To do more? 10 minutes. Oh, 10 minutes. We're good. Okay. So let's talk briefly too about the. No, I think the better thing to do. You're playing this briefly, so I think the better thing to do would be to actually try to do more of this first section and thinking about the sustain and planning your bow. So I think I'm maybe subconsciously pushing you to a slightly faster tempo. If you're willing to accept it, if not, you can take your tempo. But let's start from right where the B section of the A section. The second half of the first theme is, I'm going to be less confusing and say 10. You don't have measure numbers. Here. It's this spot. That spot. Yeah, go ahead. Just try it. And watch. You can keep your eyes here because you don't have to look at the music, and see if you can plan all of your long notes less than half the bow on the first half of each of those notes.
With the piano.
Why don't you do it by yourself again, so that you don't have to, you have total control of exactly what tempo you're going. So then we got to plan how we're going to make sure we're going to get the frog. Because if we're not the frog, we can't do that, right? So the trick is, I think, these bows are going to work out fine here. Make sure that down bow is safe so that that up bow can take you back to the frog. Because if it doesn't, this does this, you're out here, and you're not going to have a full bow for this. It'll start there. Does that make sense? So let's start right on that spot. That was measure 11. You don't have measure numbers. Right here. That spot. memory was, and then it was great, but this is hard. This is much harder to remember exactly what spot this is and what's my bowing and like all that stuff when I'm picking on it like this. So go ahead and find the measure 11 there. And let's try it again. When we get to that G, really think about safe at the beginning so that then that up bow can zip you all the way back to the frog. You see the one I'm talking about, the downbeat of 12? Yeah, okay, exactly, and then it sets up that piano really, really nicely. Yeah, very, very good. So I wonder if maybe we could try this section one more time with the piano now, like all the way from the beginning. Because we can leave the music there, so that if you need to glance up at it. But again, because you can play it from memory, keep your eye on where your bow is, your contact point, you're close enough to the bridge, and that you're never making it past halfway. If you visually, if we can see it, we can do it so much better than just by feeling it, right? So you have an advantage by being able to look at that right now. So let's make use of it. Would you be willing to try a slightly faster tempo? You don't have to keep it, right? Like you can decide for your next performance to do it not this tempo, but let's see about this tempo for the 8th note. Let's just try that. Let's see. easier to sustain for sure. I think it makes it easier also for you to make bigger shapes and to avoid smaller shapes that disrupt the flow. I think this piece works best when you think about the relationships between the first section and the middle section, and then the third section and the last section, and keeping the tempo moving from, each part of the story to the next part of the story, and not getting, if the tempo gets too slow, sometimes it's easier to feel those more separately, those sections more separately. So I liked it. I thought it sounded good, and I thought your sustain was better, and I think that to me that was more expressive. And thank you for letting me work on that with you, and for your wonderful playing, and for your hard work. Great job, and good luck to you too. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
To all of our performers, and including Anne, our awesome Miss Rachel. And letting Jeff having that chance to work with them. So thankful.
So glad you guys had this opportunity.
Yeah, of course. We're happy to put this together.
Me too.
So we have a few minutes. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Singer, or for me, or for any of our performers, or for Rachel? We're all musicians here. Probably all curious about one thing or another. Don't be shy. No question is.
It was a little awkward.
Well, yeah.
Before performing, I prefer this kind of toothpaste.
Well, do you have any advice for performers? So, like, what's the kind of mindset you put yourself in? Or do you have
Generally, panic and terror. That's my wife back there. She's laughing a little too hard at that.
Well, anything that worked for you for maybe alleviating some of
that. Well, having something that is mentally distracting to do, and trying to visualize positive outcomes, and of course, being really well prepared. Which all of you really were beautifully prepared. These are things that help a lot. Obviously, if you care about the results of the performance, it's kind of impossible not to feel some kind of anxiousness. And so the best thing to do, like I said, is to try to minimize its effect by preventing yourself from getting worked up over them. But preparing so that you're training your muscles really well to remember all of the gestures that you have to execute, and all the sequences that you're going to use in the music, so that the more automatic they become, the less being nervous is going to matter at all for the performance. And so so then the nerves are just unpleasant; they're not problematic, right? Yeah. So I wish I had a better answer than that. Boy, I wish. Yes.
I'm just curious if you could talk a little bit about the importance of listening to other performances when one is preparing a piece.
Oh, yeah. I find that a lot of my best ideas come from going to other performances, and not even always the same piece that I'm performing, just going to lots of performances, because you see when a performer does something that works really well, to get a certain feeling or a certain energy or a certain effect, and thank you so much. And and also when they do things that you don't particularly like the things that you don't want to make use of. I find that has always been my greatest source of learning. Actually, was going to performances and hearing great performers, but not always even just great performers. Like any performer, giving a performance, it always gave me that kind of information. And and I also always encourage my students not to fall in love with a particular one recording that they love of something, like especially if they're performing like a Bach suite and they love the Yo-Yo Ma inspired by Bach. I'm like, wait, you're not allowed to listen to that one anymore. You're gonna listen to Jan Starker and Rostropovich and Matt Heimovitz, and I don't know why I picked those three necessarily. Those aren't always the ones that I recommend, but all different performances rather than getting stuck on one, because for me, I want every one of my students to perform in their own way and with their own personality, and I don't want to help someone turn themselves into little Rostropovich, right? Like Rostropovich is fantastic, and he's his own thing, and part of the magic of playing music like Bach, which is ancient, written over 300 years ago, but keeping it alive is by interfacing that music with you yourself, and not trying to mimic one other person that you really particularly like. That being said, it's great to hear that piece performed by lots of different people, because they'll have ideas that you'll love and ideas that you won't love, and you will find your way specifically by listening, with those ears. So it was a bit of a rambly answer, but yeah, thank you for the question. Yes?
What is the wolf?
Oh, okay.
Every good cello has a wolf.
Yeah. Every good cello has a wolf. And so basically, this is an incomplete, I'm not a physicist, description of it. This cello, I actually have it in pretty good shape, and I'm not going to mess it up. So to demonstrate it really well, you could play that E flat again and they could hear it. Like way up on the G string, if you are willing to be our demonstrator.
In short, it is our nemesis.
That's the one, right there, that E flat. Was that the one where it was?
No. It's F.
It was on F. There we go. Hear the bone growl. What's happening? So
Like
what
that
happens?
warbling kind of
Yeah.
sound. Yeah.
So what happens is it's basically a sympathetic vibration that's getting set up. The strings have a much purer pitch and tonal profile than let's say a vibrating membrane, which is part of the reason why when you will strike a drum or an instrument like that, sometimes we consider them pitched, and other times, even though they have pitch, the pitch is much more complex, and so we don't think of it as being pitched. We call them non-pitched instruments. So the face of the instrument has a natural vibrating frequency, and that vibrating frequency, when you play the note that matches that vibrating frequency, it will sympathetically vibrate. But because that vibration is so complex and weird, they conflict with each other and they fight, and you get these things going on. And a physicist would be able to explain it better than that. That's the best I can do. But so that sympathetic vibration is problematic because it interferes with how you want to sound.
Is it similar to how an opera singer can break a glass when her pitch?
Called the resonant.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
It's sympathetic vibration. Or if you ever saw those pictures of that one bridge that they built over in Germany,
Right.
where the wind through that canyon created a sympathetic vibration in the natural resonating pitch of that bridge, and it started going wow, wow, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Understood.
Yeah, anything that where if you reach the natural vibrating frequency of anything and you create that resonance in the room, that thing will vibrate at that pitch. And it's why, if you're ever practiced in like the orchestra room or something, and you get one note and it makes the snare drum go every time. Yeah. Because that's the natural vibrating frequency of those little snare beads.
That was the faculty lounge, right? Remember when we had group in there?
Yeah, it was, yeah. I thought we were haunted for a bit.
Yeah.
I was wrong.
There's a drum in there, you were.
Yeah, right. Yeah, great question. Thank you. Yeah. Any other questions? Thank you guys all so much for coming. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for playing. Thank you very much for sharing your